Alright, so it's happening now. And I think it's something that's important that we talk about. And that's buyouts. It's happening right now in the Lorcana community, and this is not really the first time, but this is the first big one, I would say. And I think it's important that I share my information and experience and knowledge about buyouts to help out other people. So yesterday I woke up to learn that that Enchanted Stitch Surfer was being bought out, and out of nowhere, Stitch was suddenly at zero quantity on TCG Player, and minimal quantity. Oh, my camera's falling. In minimal quantity on eBay, and suddenly later in the day, started getting relisted for $600, $700. I was seeing them anywhere from like $575 to like $750, and I think that's a typical response. So what happens is somebody with a lot of money will log on to TCG Player, for example, and buy out everything of one card. I don't remember the price that Stitch was at, but let's say Stitch was at $250. And that allows that person or group of people, because they often work in small groups, to reset the floor of Stitch. So if Stitch was listed on TCG Player at $250, for example, maybe there was a low one at like $220 or $200, and then a high graded one at like $400. These are just example numbers. That allows that person or group of people to go back onto TCG Player in a couple of hours and list a Stitch, or gives them the opportunity to be the first person to list a Stitch at a new floor. And we'll say they listed it at $600. Suddenly, the community thinks that their Stitches are valued at $600. And really, the value of a card is only what people will pay for it. And the unfortunate part is people will pay that because these buyouts cause FOMO. Suddenly cards start going, and collectors or people who were waiting for that next step to get the card will suddenly go, oh no, I need to get the card before it goes even higher. Especially when we have a card like Elsa, who is continuing to climb and climb and climb. You know, you could have bought a raw ungraded Elsa even 2 months ago for $600, and she's continuing to climb and climb and climb and breaking 2K, 3K, graded even higher. And I addressed it in another video, but I think it's all market manipulation. So that happens, and then suddenly people are on Facebook and stuff trying to list their Stitches, at $600-$700. And I really don't think there's a lot of sales like that, except for the few folks that are at FOMO. And what will happen is there will be it will trend back down, but unfortunately it will not trend back down to what it was. It'll find a new floor. So if they're starting to get listed at $600 on Facebook and TCG Player and all of this, there will likely be a couple of other people going, look, I know that I'm not going to sell it at $600. Maybe I'll list mine at $575, so on and so forth. And I think Stitch might find another floor at $400, maybe $450, $500, and that will be the new trend for it. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to go a whole lot lower than that unless the first chapter gets reprinted into oblivion, and we all know that that's not going to happen. It will get reprinted, I'm sure, but not to the mass amount of numbers that it needs to be. And unfortunately, last night, as predicted, that trend started to follow with other cards. Suddenly there's 2 or 3 Snow White left. Belle has started to go, the numbers are dwindling there. My printer has come alive. The numbers for Maui are starting to dwindle. Last time I looked, there was only a couple of Mauis left. And the cheap ones are all getting bought up, which means it looks like the price graph is going up. So there's a couple of, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a couple of other cards hitting this trend. and this is something that happens in a lot of TCGs, especially with cards that are highly collectible, and it's nothing but pure market manipulation. So basically what I'm trying to say is I want you to be careful. Don't purchase out of FOMO. If you feel the need to fire sell also because of FOMO, do it, but you're not missing out on a whole lot, man. If you end up selling your Stitch for $650 versus if you end up selling your Stitch for $500, in many of instances, including myself, that extra $150 is going to be great, but you're still making money. If you had a Stitch for $250 and you sell it for $275, you're still making money, you know. So don't fall for these scams. Don't fall for these tactics. The biggest instances of this happen with the bigger cards, like the Enchanted, especially because you see the price change in such high dollar values. But this happens on a scale all the way down to the lowest cards as well, you know. You can start seeing buyouts of cards that are $2, and suddenly that card is $3. Take the One Drop Maleficent, for example. One Drop Maleficent is trending upwards over $6. That's not necessarily because of a buyout, but if that card was at $4 and I decided to go on TCG Player and buy up every single copy of Maleficent and then relist at $6, that's still the same conceptual thing. So just be careful. You know, always ask questions, especially sometimes there are people with these things who will go even deeper into a scam. You know, and you go to do a deal on Facebook, for example, and then deal with PayPal goods and services, and then people scam you with PayPal goods and services because of PayPal's refund policy, and then they end up getting your card and $600 back, and that's just the biggest thing. Just be careful, folks. There's not much more to say to that, really, other than keep an eye out. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of the stuff moving more. The cards that have lower quantities on TCG Player are going to be the ones that are going up. Things like the locations and such might start creeping up, like Cusco's Palace is at like $60 right now. It might become a victim of a buyout attempt and start creeping up $70, but it's mostly going to be the chapter ones, the princesses, things like that. So here, have a random copy of a morph. That's all I got for you. Go check me out on TikTok. Keep liking and subscribing, and keep subscribing. Keep liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing my videos here on YouTube. I'll post my link tree in the bottom, but check me out on Instagram. I'm very active on Twitter and my Facebook. And then, as always, if you need, you can buy singles from my TCG store. So yeah, great. Have a good Wednesday. Oh, it is Wednesday. Gosh, have a good Wednesday, and I'll see you guys later.